Instant talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy... Flyover State of Fear. Welcome to Flyover State of Fear. I got my man Brian. I'm Joe. How is everyone doing? How are you doing, Brian? It's
I'm so glad to be here, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for not using your vague dream powers to turn me into a frat boy and let me come here as my genuine self to enjoy talking butterfly effect. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
I do want to give a start of the episode disclaimer for butterfly effect. There's the two sentences I'm going to say. One, Ashton Kutcher's a piece of shit. That is just a bottom line. I will not retroactively say that. I pre-events was like, he's kind of funny, but we'll talk about that later. The other thing is, because of the contents fully of butterfly effect, our laughter and humor are not for the actual acts they are doing in this movie. It's the stupidity of the fucking...
honestly, content warning. Trigger warning.
No. There's a lot of... There's just going to be a lot of...
child abuse, ableism.
There's too many things in that movie.
So many. Just all the content warnings.
Just save it, to be like, keep going. Well, it's all bad.
Oh, very
it's all
bad. Don't condone them.
Yes, but a lot of it is hysterical. Anyway, I just want to give that general ness for both of ourselves before we talk about this. It's just a trigger warning because it's
absolutely
deservedly
so.
So
anytime you're talking about a movie from the early 2000s, you should just give a trigger warning in general. It's like, hey, this movie came out before 2007, so just keep that in mind.
So before we really dive in to this butterfly effect and our wings ripple through, and maybe Yusuf will pull an unnecessary quote that has no ties into the actual movie before this episode.
That is my first note. I love the quote. It explains the butterfly effect, and then the quote is attributed to chaos theory, not a person, just the general idea of chaos theory.
And yeah,
you could have done Dr. Ian Malcolm, and even just do what the hell?
It also just. It also, the definition...
We're not going to do the top of the show. We're just going to talk about the movie. If we don't start and do our general top of the show stuff, we're not going to do it.
Okay. Have you been watching anything?
Joe, I have, in fact. Totally unprepared for this.
Yeah.
No, my wife, actually. My wife. Got us on a little bit of a Betty Davis kick, so I've been hitting up some classic horror thrillers. Horror meant a different thing in the 1960s, but still some creepy stuff, some cool movies, some classics. I did watch Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, and then I followed it up with Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte, which is one I had never heard of.
I've only watched Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty blind to pre-1970.
Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte was a fun one. It also had Olivia de Havilland in it, and a very young Bruce Dern gets decapitated.
Oh,
so, and that's not a spoiler. It happens very early.
Bruce Dern from Pete's Christmas.
Bruce Dern from The Burbs?
No, from Pete's Christmas. No, it's a straight to ABC family Groundhog Day type a Christmas movie. Who also starred in a Groundhog Day type Christmas movie? Amy Smart on ABC Family with 12 Dates of Christmas.
Amy Smart, you can't help ourselves. We just
all right. They're just too layered.
I did watch one more. Hold on, there was one more. It was called Dead Ringer. Now I know Dead Ringers is a popular Cronenberg movie, and then they just did a series with Rachel Weisz also called Dead Ringers. This is Dead Ringer, no plural. Another Betty Davis movie. These were all three Betty Davis movies. All three recommends. I would check them out if you have the time.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they were all available readily.
But we can
Sometimes
find them.
I get DVDs from the library. Check your local libraries.
You should check your local library. There's a lot of things there that
I don't
aren't
have
available
like
on
mine. You
streaming.
can just you can you can save stuff online, and they'll just email you when it's available, and then you can come get it. It's
Support your
free.
local libraries. You could also get
Libraries.
video games at libraries. They're really fucking cool. Um, the one thing I did watch over the weekend, and it's a revisit. I've been kind of revisiting a lot of things recently. Um, was The Last Exorcism. It kind of, it came out of that found footage boom. And I always forgot it starred Howard Hamlin, Patrick Fabian from Better Call Saul.
Oh, does it? Oh, yeah. I only saw it once. It was kind of like a middling exorcism. Yeah. There were a lot of exorcism movies around that time.
And that is what it is, but I was a little more impressed with it's slow. It's a lot more of a slow burn for the found footage. It's not as I think I'd always even though this isn't found footage, I think I always crossed it too much over with The Haunting in Connecticut, and that movie really clicked for me.
Oh no.
But anyway, really strong haunting movie. The acting's really strong and it is very enjoyable. I think it's on HBO. Watch it. We both watched No One Will Save You.
Oh yeah. By the time this episode's out, it'll have been out. It's on Hulu. It's great. It's a nice little 90-minute spooky season. If you haven't heard anything about it yet, go check it out. If you have heard it and you've been like, so much hype. I'm not buying into it. Get over yourself and go watch it. It's really good. The girl from Booksmart is awesome. She's excellent in it.
I was also floored. It floored me by it because I'm not a big alien invasion. Just they never get me. They're always like, okay, yeah. Something like Nope, I think is an outlier and things like that. But
this isn't Nope. Don't go in thinking this is on par with Nope.
This is a horror.
Nope is going to be a modern classic. People are going to keep revisiting Nope and realizing how fucking good it is.
Yeah. I think No One Will Save You is what you wish Signs was.
It has very Signs vibes. There, the farmhouse setting. Her aesthetic is kind of old timey, even though it's kind of set in the present day. It's got that quirkiness a little bit to it, like Signs. But yeah, I agree. I actually like Signs pretty well.
I haven't visited in a while.
But I agree that this is probably what most people would have wanted Signs to be.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't have been mad if this was what Signs was.
It's horror. It's
legitimately
horror.
Scary and freaky and creepy and like I said, a nice little tight 90-minute spooky season, just a banger.
Absolutely.
A movie that probably could have done pretty good in the theater, honestly.
Yeah, that's a conversation for a different day because there's so many of these straight to streaming, especially horror, that it's this would have been fun in the theaters.
Kids go out to see horror movies still.
Horror's the only genre that will get.
I would say maybe Last Voyage of the Demeter was a little bit of an outlier, kind of bombed a little bit.
Okay, but I can explain that one. It's a period piece Dracula movie.
Yeah. We also had a period piece Dracula movie already earlier in the year. It was a comedy. It was called Renfield.
Yeah, they don't do well. They never done really well. Like fucking Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah, honestly, since Bram Stoker, they've been chasing Dracula, and they just don't. They don't get the juice.
That's like, hey, Hollywood, I have some notes for you. If you release a big budget fucking Wolfman movie, me and Brian will be there, but it's not going to make money.
Yeah, what do you think is going to happen when it's Robert Eggers did The Northman, it kind of underperformed. Let's have him do a remake of Nosferatu. That's a surefire moneymaker.
Yeah, I'm going to love it.
I'm going to be very excited for it as well.
But
I did want to mention before we move on, I also did a big rewatch. If you've watched our Sinister episode, you'll know that we talked a lot about Hereditary, and I had my beautiful little $5 Blu-ray from Target, and I put it in, and I was blown away. I don't know what my whole deal was. Maybe it was, I did realize that about halfway through the movie, I remember that the first time I watched it, I kind of thought they were leading into a thing that was more this is about Toni Collette's mental illness, and her mother was mentally ill, and it's inherited, and all this tragedy is bringing it out, and it's like that. And then I think that maybe when it all turned out to be a real thing, I was kind of I think I just I don't know,
you checked out a little bit,
kind of checked out a little or something, but knowing the full thing going in the second time and like what I was getting into, and just like embracing it for what it was. What a picture! So incredible film, really great, just really great rewatch. Really glad. I'll definitely be going back to it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I thought that in I did the rewatch. We talked about it last time. I did the rewatch like right before I finished up our Sinister one. Same thing. It terrified me at the first time. I didn't want to watch it. Now I'm like a little more of just like, oh, it's a better movie that it's terrifying, and that's what I want. Cool. But yeah, so we picked the Butterfly Effect this week. We were like both kind of equally like.
To be fair, can we say in this disclaimer, we also decided like everything's going to be. We record so far in advance. Everything's going to be so far in the past. People not even remember. But we decided on the Butterfly Effect before Ashton Kutcher came out as a rape apologist.
Yes.
And it was already kind of in the bank. And I don't want to like he's a piece of shit and everything, and fuck him. But also, like, I can revisit this still. That's
it
not
helps.
A problem.
No, he didn't.
I wasn't so in love. It's not like I was so in love with Ashton Kutcher. I thought he was a good person, really. Anyway, it's just more confirmed now. So I think I'm fine with.
Where I want to stand with this is, and this will help because I think it's a good idea to paint a picture for this movie of like who Ashton Kutcher was in 2004. And
this is definitely peak of his powers era.
So, like I said before, I would say like not even just race ball. For the last couple of years, I was never like it. I was always at the right age to enjoy the Ashton Kutcher shit. Put it that way. I was
absolutely.
Middle.
I was a huge '70s show fan.
Yeah, '70s show, middle school to his rom-coms to this and that. I mean. So
Punk'd, I'm sure, like being a kid your age, Punk'd was probably all the celebs getting razzed and whatnot.
Like, he was, broy enough or was funny to be, for a tween, and so I just want to say that before because I don't want to be like, people's like I always hated that guy. It's like no, I always got it. But Ashton Kutcher in 2004 is. Like he does kind of does like Dude, Where's My Car a few years ago. Like he does some comedies. He's the goofy guy in that '70s show. He's on Punk'd. He's like this. He is there. I don't think there's an equivalent today of a comparison. If someone's like, oh, that's just a goofball who like your mom.
I'm not tuned in enough to young people culture. I'm sure there's like some YouTubers that would kind of fall into this category.
Like your mom likes. There's no problem with. He's funny. He's this and that. Like that's his thing.
Seems safe enough, like edgy-ish, but like
He comes out with it's 2004. He comes out with the Butterfly Effect, which watching it, I was like, what the. This is clearly like I'm breaking away. I'm going to be a serious actor. And this is the only reason why the Butterfly Effect got made was because he attached himself on as a producer, or he attached him on and as an executive producer, and he was one of the blacklisted scripts for like years.
And we can say up top, I think that the premise and stuff is pretty great.
Well, there's a good movie in here.
There's a good, this is, it's got that kind of like Stephen King-y kind of vibe to it.
Well, there's a lot of Stephen King tropes in it. The way the kids talk, always kind of cursing. The having a heavy friend.
Sure.
Just trauma bombs all over the place. So Stephen King is fully into the bones of this movie.
Let me check my Infinifilm DVD. Who directed this genius work here?
Well, it's a duo.
Written and directed by Eric Bress and J. Mackie Gruber.
So they wrote Final Destination 2.
Ooh, okay. So they got a pedigree.
Yeah.
I like Final Destination 2.
The one that everyone remembers, right? And I'd say their senses, if that's what they came up with Final Destination 2, works great in Final Destinations, not so much in the trauma and times of
the things they choose to delve into in this movie that we'll get into are the problem. It's not like the way they do like some of the the like the whatever violent stuff or time travel stuff or whatever, that stuff isn't, as well done in that Final Destination kind of like mean spirited kind of way, but it's because of the stuff they put into the script that's like really dark,
Yeah.
But let's see what some critics had to say real
let me
quick.
know what the critics have to say, and then I'll do a synopsis.
So first of all, I want to mention this is from one of my. It says a complex and witheringly powerful film. That's from Kurt Loder from MTV News. If you're a fan of my favorite reviewer, Kurt Loder.
They definitely also did.
Put up a picture of Kurt Loder. The kids know who Kurt Loder is.
They also definitely did not have the MTV Punk'd tie-in for Kurt Loder to speak goodly because our kids were.
I'm sure there wasn't like a Butterfly Effect promotional episode or month of episodes.
But also, that's like 10 years too late for Kurt Loder to be relevant too. Like
2004, I don't know, because you got to remember he's at Woodstock '99.
He's still
ran out of Woodstock '99. This is only 5 years after.
I'm thinking a little.
He was always the old guy.
It's not Carson Daly. Like there's a bigger punch for you.
Carson Daly was already out. I think TRL days were behind him. I don't really know, but either way, I do have to say now this person. I'm gonna call this guy out right away. This is Paul Fisher from Dark Horizons, which I don't know if that's a magazine or a website. It doesn't really say. This is truly embarrassing, though, so I wanted to make sure I said his name before I read it. The Butterfly Effect is an engrossing, unpredictable, and original thriller, more chilling and compelling than The Sixth Sense. That take did not age great.
I don't think it aged well in 2004.
I think in 2004 that was an embarrassing thing to say.
Like that, yes. The Sixth Sense is an Oscar-winning.
Didn't The Sixth Sense come out in like '99? This is like 5 years out. You're just trying to be an edgelord. Of course, that's what this movie's all about.
The big comparison to this movie, I think the equal, like you could be like this and that, is Donnie Darko.
Yeah, this feels very Donnie Darko.
But I know I don't have the highest opinion of Donnie Darko. Donnie Darko, better movie.
Yeah, I think overall a better movie, but I do think it suffers from some of the same kind of like try-hard edgelord, like tone issues. It's definitely a better movie than this.
Watching this movie and like knowing doing the rewatch of this movie and knowing what people think of it, or like I should say like peers, or not peers, like friends and other people that aren't just like movie snobs like you and me, think of it. It reminds me of it's the thriller version of Boondock Saints.
Oh, okay.
We revisited Boondock Saints for other show. I remember hating it.
I think I'm gonna have kind of a similar conclusion about how I felt about Boondock Saints too.
Yeah,
which is embarrassing for me, really.
So, I don't know. There's been people all through my life going, "Yeah, it's a good movie. Like that is like the butter." Yeah, because
nobody's seen it since 20 years ago.
Yeah, and in 20 years ago,
when they were a child, and they were like, "Yeah, that's pretty good."
You were. I mean, this is 2004. I was 12, so let's say
I got married in 2004.
Yeah,
so.
And other people I've talked to, you were 15 or younger. Like this is a mind blow. This is us writing a script at age 18, being like, yeah.
Like there's a reason. Like there's a reason, and I hate when movies do this. It's one of those big things. It's like, don't show a better movie in your movie. They go in and see 7. I'm like, oh, don't come on. You dare to compare yourself, to put yourself in the same mindset of 7.
There's so many problems with the 7 scene to begin with. One, if you look at the marquee bill, I think they're going to see Dumb and Dumber. The other thing is Dumb and Dumber. Those movies don't come out a year. They're a year apart. They're a year and months apart. I looked at the dates today.
Yeah.
Like, 2, they just not except for Evan. By the way, our lead character is Evan, young Ashton Kutcher.
Well,
everyone else
the young version, Logan Lerman, or one of those like good actors.
Yeah, Percy Jackson or something.
Yeah, I think he was Percy Jackson. Yeah.
Everyone else except for him remembers murdering a baby and a woman, and they're like, you know what? Let's go see 7.
Yeah, we should start getting into it a little bit.
Yeah, let's get into it. So I'm gonna read.
Before we start, though, I do have to shout out 3 quick casting things. Melora Walters as the mom, Love her. A lot of her work is in TV, but she's also in Boogie Nights. Just a great character
Who's she in
actress.
Boogie Nights? Why am I?
She ends up marrying Don Cheadle. She's the lady that Don Cheadle
Oh
ends up.
shit! Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
Um,
The only
and
happy storyline in Boogie Nights.
exactly. She gets the only happy ending in Boogie Nights, and she's also in a great episode of Seinfeld. She's in the Hamptons. She's the topless. She's the Georgia's topless date, the Hamptons.
Yeah.
Um, uh, she's great. I love her. Love Eric Stoltz. You could not cast a better creep than Eric Stoltz.
He finally gets his time travel movie.
I love when later when Ashton Kutcher shows up and he's like the older Eric Stoltz and he's just his character from Pulp Fiction. He's got the bathrobe and everything. Same guy. And then shout out to Cameron Bright, who like 2 years after this is going to be in every single movie. But in this movie, he's just playing the age of Tommy, where he sits on the stairs and pulls the doll's head off, and he never has a line. But he's a very distinct looking child, and he's in like 10 movies that came out in 2006 and 2007.
He was in Running Scared. He was
and he's the kid in X-Men 3, and he's like in a bunch of stuff around that time.
Good sociopath kid.
He was just about to pop off, but it's funny that he's as a Tommy, because there's different ages of Tommies, just like there's different ages of Evans. He's the Tommy with the least to do.
Sure. Also, I'd like to give just some casting shout outs here too, because
there's the casting.
Ethan Suplee.
Suplee,
who's like not for weight reasons, one of the grossest characters ever on screen.
Oh, in this movie specifically, disgusting. But you got to give it, this movie and American History X were the two movies that figure out how fucking terrifying Ethan Suplee can be.
Yes,
like he's a mountain of a man, and he's still huge. Like he's not big, heavy the way he was, but he's still like a really big guy. Now he's like, he got shredded. He got like all ripped. He looks like a professional wrestler now.
Oh yeah, he looks great today. And then Eldon Henson, Mighty Ducks, Foggy Nelson.
I totally forgotten that Eldon Henson was in this, and I was so excited.
So
love him. I love that he played the big kid in the Mighty Ducks, but that was as tall as he ever got, and he's like a manlet now.
The Bash Brothers.
Oh, I love the Bash Brothers.
All right,
big T2 guy right here.
Oh, it's the superior film.
When they bring in all the guys, all the different characters from out of the state, and they all have special skills. It's like the
that montage, and then we get the whoop. There it is montage in L.A. when we meet Keenan.
The knuckle puck. Come on, Keenan. Iconic Keenan performance.
Was it Dallas? That is his surname, Dallas, with the lasso and the.
Oh yeah, yep. The Western. So Julie the Cat Gaffney, the like girl goalie.
She's the best.
So.
All right, so
as a child, I thought she was hot. Not now.
Today still.
I mean, maybe she still is.
She still is.
Age appropriate.
Age appropriately of all my life, she is.
You've been keeping tabs on Julie the Cat Gaffney.
Who hasn't? But I will read the synopsis, and then we'll just kind of go through this. I actually do want to read off the traumas even before going with that, because I've counted 14. All right, so college student Evan Treborn is afflicted with headaches so painful that he frequently blacks out. While unconscious, Evan is able to travel back in time to difficult moments in his childhood. He can also alter the past for friends like Kaylee, who was molested by her father. But changing the past can drastically alter the present, and Evan finds himself in a nightmarish alternate realities.
Evan is very stupid and does not think at all.
Including one where he's locked away in prison. So that's a terrible synopsis.
Well, also, they fuck up in the beginning because there's like college student has headaches so bad. No, he hasn't had a blackout since he was a kid.
And that's the whole journals. Point. It's not when he blacks out. So I'm just gonna read the traumas because I feel like it's
your trigger warning, everybody.
I feel like it's just the best way to instead of just going through the plot. I'm just gonna
that
read
way
these.
When we're talking later, you'll know what we're talking about.
So first and foremost, child pornography, being duped into a Peter Pan child pornography, strangled,
and implied molestation. Also,
yes,
I would say
implied molestation, strangled to death by his institutionalized father. Dad that is immediately killed in front of him, accidentally killing a mother and her infant daughter while playing with dynamite. Dog burned alive. Kaylee commits suicide, kills Kaylee's brother in cold blood. He uses the R word in prison. I'm sorry, prison. He's raped in prison. Ashton Kutcher just drops an N-bomb for some fun reason.
Well, he's trying to get it. To be fair, he's trying to get in with
It's
white
jarring.
supremacists.
It's
He's
still
doing it.
jarring.
He's like doing a thing. He's trying to get in with this.
He doesn't sound very believable.
He says the K slur for a Jewish person too, which is it's like a relic. It's like, oh, that was like an old timey one coming back.
All right, so that would add us to 15. Lenny kills Tommy, but the dog does get saved. Lenny is an institution, and Kaylee becomes a drug addicted prostitute. Evan becomes a double amputee. Mother developed lung cancer after becoming a chain smoker. Accidentally kills Kaylee with dynamite. I don't know if I'm missing any of the traumas, but I have there's about 14 to 15, and they're on repeat.
Right, because he keeps going through, like, they revisit that Peter Pan kitty porn scene like so 4 times.
So a big flaw. Of the film. I mean, this movie is a lot of flaw. A big flaw in the structure of this movie is we don't get to like Ashton Kutcher's like the time travel stuff till about 40 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, and they spend a lot of time. Well, also to be fair, we should disclaimer: we watched the director's cut. Yeah, it's about 6 minutes longer, and it's totally restructured. It's different as far as
we get so much setup of these things that you don't see that we then just go revisit again. I'm saying it doesn't make.
See, I don't remember the original cut as much, and maybe they cut back and forth a little more. But I did like the setup at the beginning. The idea of like all this fucked up shit keeps happening. And Ashton Kutcher is like present for all of it, but he keeps having these blackouts. He can't remember anything. And then like I'm looking at it from the Melora Walters perspective, the parent coming at it from that end, and it's a very like Exorcist scenario where like you feel very powerless. Your kid is clearly struggling. You know his dad had mental health problems. You know
she's just trying to protect her child, and she can't. So she just lets him.
Hate like knowing all and seeing that and the way that played out, but I do agree that like they take too long to get to what is the meat of the movie.
Because I'll say I think a lot of the things with the kids and stuff are pretty damn bad. Like they work. It's honestly all the Ashton Kutcher shit. It's when we get to him and being Ashton Kutcher in the role of Evan. By the way, the worst fact of this movie is they originally wanted to call him Chris Treborn. Chris. Do you know what that translates to? Christ Reborn.
Christ Reborn, yeah, that's not subtle.
Evan Treborn is still Event Reborn.
That's like in the new Ninja Turtles movie when he's trying to come up with his name, and he's like, "I'll just be Michael Angelo. Angelo will just be my last name."
I didn't.
That's literally the same joke.
It's
that's terrible. No, we start off at the beginning and there's all this, you just see like
let's go
Evan's just incurring kind of trauma after trauma at the beginning.
Well, we start off with he has drawings of what we find out later to be the prison scene.
She gets called into school. He did a weird drawing. He doesn't remember doing it. Like all these things keep happening. He doesn't remember them.
They should have been like, wow, this is traumatic, but you're a really good artist.
You have a very interesting art style here. Yeah. I don't know where that came from.
But they suggest, hey, write like you black out. You have these little blackouts. Write in your journals. And he's pretty young.
He starts his journaling when he's like 7, and he writes in.
And then we experience the Eric Stoltz scene for the first time,
right? Yeah,
because he meets Kaylee.
That's like before or after? Like all the stuff. That's around the same. Because there's like 3 ages. There's that age. There's a middle, like a 12-year-old, 15-year, 14-year-old age.
So
then there's Ashton Kutcher age.
Yeah. So there's 3 defining events that are. There's I guess 4 really, but
because I would say when he's young, you have the one in school, the drawing that he doesn't remember, and also she sees him like standing in the kitchen holding a knife at one point.
Yeah,
just kind of a quick little.
Which again, they try to tie back in later to being a thing that happened when he.
It's almost like a false start.
Yeah,
And then so you have that. You have the stuff with the Eric Stoltz recording them doing a sexy video, and he blacks some of that out. And then you have his visit to his dad. And his dad's
That's the
institutionalized.
one that is the most important of the movie, but you just ignore it as okay, that's
And
crazy.
Ashton Kutcher fucks it up so bad. Like we'll talk about it when we get there. I can't of all the mistakes.
No, just talk about it. Talk about it.
Movie. Well, no, because I want to build to it. So
okay,
we'll just. But anyway,
so you have that
and the blackout there is he's about to sit down and talk to his dad, and then he blacks out. When he wakes up, his dad is like throttling him. He's like on him, choking the life out of him.
And his dad should have done the job.
And they beat him off. They beat the dad to the ground. Nice. You said they kill him. They kill him.
Oh, he's dead because the next scene is the funeral.
Oh, okay. So they beat him to death.
Then he gets a funeral, he gets a family funeral too.
Okay, all right. I didn't remember. I must have looked down and take a note during that part. But then so he gets those traumas when he's like a young kid. Then when he's a little older, he's got a crush on his friend which I also very weird choice to center the love story around two kids who were sexually abused together because that really messes up kids the way they process relationships and stuff and it's just a very not to say that they wouldn't have this connection but it's a very weird thing to put in your movie or your love story, so start with that at the core.
Even in so in our ending, right, I won't put it all, but even Kaylee, Amy Smart's happy ending is still a really big assumption that this never happened. This never actually ended up happening to her.
Yeah, well, you're supposed to think she goes off with her mom before any of that happens because she chose to stay with her dad. But it was a gamble. It's a gamble.
It's still a big gamble.
It's a gamble.
Like this is how conceited and self-centered Evan is as a character.
We can get into it. Let's talk a little bit more about what happens when they.
Yeah, let's go through it because, like I said, I've been excited to talk about this movie. Right? I cracked a beer today.
He's got a crush on the girl. They kiss. The brother's a psycho. He holds a grudge because the dad, because Eric Stoltz, I don't know. The kid's real messed up because he saw his sister get molested and with this other kid. And he has messed up feelings and
he's just what
means. That part is actually very accurate to how kids who are abused. You know what I mean? They have their perception of what relationships are and what love is can be very messed up. So I would say that's actually pretty accurate portrayal for that.
That happens, right? That's all there, and that's Tommy has this raging.
Well, he sees him kissing at the movies, and he beats.
Well, that's the last event. Or I would say that's not
that's before the
before the last. So they're kissing at the movies. It's like a sweet scene. The two kids. He's
that's after the mailbox. So it's mailbox first.
So mailbox. So it goes mailbox, right? And we don't see what happens in the mailbox. Honestly,
they get a stick of dynamite. They put it in a mailbox. They're gonna blow up a fancy mailbox. And then you see that a mom and baby are maybe gonna. Oh no, we don't see
later. That's later.
Damn, I can't keep it straight.
No, I can keep it straight. Just let me talk.
Sorry.
So you hit so that's the thing. Yeah, you see them. They find the stick of dynamite, not a cherry bomb. There's a gnat.
He calls it a blockbuster. Maybe?
They call it the blockbuster. It's a fucking stick of dynamite. They find it in Eric Stoltz's house too, and that's like a fine okay they're just shitty kids. Whatever.
Well, they're gonna do just a vandalism.
They're gonna blow up this bougie mailbox thing that apparently they only made 3 of those mailboxes because it's so expensive, and they got the shot on the last one. The shot they wanted on the last one.
Yeah, thank goodness.
So anyway, they do that, and to be honest, that reveal though later didn't make me go, what the fuck? Because it's so extra. Everything in this movie is just extra.
Yeah, very well. That's
so we can't just kill the mom. We can't just kill the mom.
Yeah,
she has to be with a fucking infant who then goes, "You want to get the mail, honey?"
The little baby hand reaches out to open the mailbox.
Oh, that is so funny. So they do that. So that's that. All right.
Again, he has another blackout. All this stuff he doesn't see. He wakes up. They're carrying their friend through the woods. And
one friend's catatonic. And
Tommy's like, don't ever talk about that again. I'll kill you. Shit,
Lenny is catatonic, which has to be
Lenny, who ends up being Eldon Henson.
Yeah, he's catatonic, and then Tommy's just Evan just wakes up. I was like, what happened? And they won't tell him at all what happened, which is...
Yeah, not even the kids won't tell him. I think they probably, I don't know, if I was this kid's friend and we all almost got, I would just think he was faking. I think
that's...
trying to use his blackouts to get out of it. That's what I would think.
I mean, the mom thinks that.
The mom implies that, yeah. But she ends up believing him pretty quickly. As his friend, I would still be more skeptical than the mom.
So what's wild about that, though, is this shit happens, and then like he's still asking questions of what happened. So I'm just going to assume this is the next weekend. We even hear some stuff on the news that they're looking for a vandalism. You know, they're looking for a tragedy.
Yeah, we hear on the news like the kind of tragedy happened at this, this mailbox explosion or whatever.
Terrible cops in the town to not be able to figure this one out.
Yeah.
So anyway, they do that. As you already said, Tommy catches Evan, young Ashton Kutcher, and young Amy Smart kissing, freaks out, takes it as this big, like, F you to him.
Betrayal to him. And what it comes down to is that, like, he's jealous of Ashton Kutcher's care of Evan, and, like, his sister's the only good thing in his life, and he's like, you're taking the only good thing in my life. That's the way the movie kind of, like, portrays it. It's obviously more complicated than that, what with all the molestation things.
Yeah, it's all just kind of combined there. And then so the last big traumatic event before his mom's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here, is he holds up in a junkyard and takes Evan, young Ashton Kutcher's dog, puts him in a burlap sack, chains it up.
And he's gonna burn him.
He's gonna burn him alive, and he does. And Evan...
Well, they come in to try to stop him.
Evan blacks out.
Evan has one of his classic blackouts, and when he wakes up, the dog's burnt. Lenny has stood there and watched the dog burn. Lenny is struggling to get the dog free.
Kaylee got hit. This is when Kaylee gets hit with a 2x4.
She gets hit in the head up here. Later, she's when she gets the scar on her face.
Okay.
The first time, she just gets knocked in the head.
And as a kid, like, my memory of this movie, watching it and then later, was honestly just scary looking Amy Smart for years. Everything else was kind of a blur. So those are our big events. Those are all the events.
And after that happens with the dog and everything,
this is about 40 minutes.
His mom moves him away, and he's all like, I'll remember you, I'll come back for you, and then literally never makes an attempt to contact Amy Smart ever again.
I'll come back for you. And then we see Ashton Kutcher in college.
College Ashton Kutcher.
Which again, so he's a 21-year-old man, or boy, essentially.
21, 22, yeah.
And he's like he's a psych major. They basically portray him as this kind of nerd.
Yeah, a bit of but he's got that kind of like,
or not a nerd, just a guy.
Was it Josh Hartnett in The Faculty, where he's like, he's like obviously super smart, but kind of cool and like,
well, buddy, it's funny that you mentioned Josh Hartnett, because you know who they wanted for this movie before?
Yeah, that's
that
tracks.
Josh Hartnett was offered. Sean William Scott was offered. Joshua Jackson was offered.
Joshua Jackson.
So anyway,
this could have been his he coming off a Buffy movie. He did Urban Legend instead, and honestly, good choice.
Good job. No, so he wakes up, and we see him, like you said, Ethan Suplee as his goth roommate who just bangs tens.
Who bangs tens and then uses Evan's shirt to wipe his gross
watch that scene
sweat.
And just watch Ethan Suplee in that scene.
His
arms just moving underneath, where it's like he's still jerking off, and then he's throws it to him. He's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I think he was I don't know if he was finishing off or he was just cleaning himself up. But either way, you don't want to get touched by that shirt.
It's grimy. They need it. How much Ethan Supplee's character has sex? They needed like a doorknob system.
Yeah. Honestly, though, Ethan Supplee's a freak. I would imagine that a couple times Evan just hopped in. I bet he got in on that shit. On a crazy night,
blacked out.
Years, Evan comes home to the dorm and shit's getting wild. He's just like, you know what? He had an earring. He had a little necklace with a chain. Come on,
he was feeling it. So Evan,
how
you good? So Evan, brings a girl back from like a party, and for some reason he has his journals with him.
She looks under his bed and finds them.
Yeah, but for some reason he has them to begin with.
Is he still journaling at all at that point?
No, they're just old composition
around
notebooks.
from when he was a teenager.
Yeah, not even a tween.
Yeah.
It's a weird.
It's weird that they're there, but it's even weirder that as he starts to read them and is clearly visibly getting upset, she is so into it.
Oh my god, she goes, "Keep going."
Oh.
This is literally her fault. This whole movie is this woman's fault, because she goes, "Keep going," and he's like, "No," because the first sentence is like, "And I watched the bodies burn." Or like the smell, like it's the most.
I could smell Cricket's burning body or whatever.
Yeah, and he blacks out, and she wakes him up, but she just hang out there, and she was like, "Oh my god, you're up!" Not like, "I'm getting the fuck out of here." This guy roofied himself.
But this is how he like it seems like he had just kind of like when he moved with his mom, he just kind of put this shit behind him and kind of hadn't thought about it very much.
So
and
then,
like he gets into these journals and he starts thinking about his blackouts. And this is where I was going to say I kind of like the cyclical nature of it's like a very Terminator style plot where he has blackouts and then he's older trying to investigate those blackouts is what ends up causing the blackouts, and that's that's what's happening. I didn't hate that.
Okay, yeah, because they do introduce that like all this travel is affecting his mental state and capacity, because
that comes a little later. He hasn't done any traveling really yet.
But so he kind of travels, and then he gets whiff of the molestation. We'll just call it that.
Well, he's starting to look through like I said, he gets back into looking through the notebooks, and he remembers, and it's like he starts reading one, and it gets weird. This is where his kind of abilities. I'm on the fence. I want to ask you about this,
buddy. They make no sense. This is like,
well, that's what I was gonna say. But do we like that they don't bother to explain it and they just kind of leave it? It's just a thing. It's like The Shining. He can just do it. I kept feeling like they were trying to lead. His project is about memory. They say something about how he has pet worms, and that's part of his memory experiment. Never went back to that or talked about that in any way. I was like,
I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah, I thought. Well, I was like legitimately wondering. I was very closely trying to figure out if they were going to try to tie this ability to something that had to do with an experiment he was doing, or like a drug he was testing, or I don't know, a science machine, like the second Happy Death Day movie of some kind.
Well, it doesn't. So,
but apparently, it's just an inherited ability.
It's an inherited
ability all the men in his family have,
and I don't mind that. But
no, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I was just looking through my notes of it, but where it doesn't make sense is in the logic of what things can happen, because he learns, okay, I could fix like basically he learns at this one point, oh, if I get a scar, I could undo scars. Basically, is if I get a scar, maybe I could undo my scars. That's like the mission statement.
It's like I can go back and I can. Well, it starts out as I can figure out what happened in these moments where I blacked out, but then it progresses to I can undo some of these traumas.
Yes.
But
what doesn't there's one thing that happens in it where truly just it's the hands. It's his hands being crucified.
Oh, well, yeah, we haven't. Oh,
I know that's a very far in event, and I don't even know when we're going to get there. That is the one event that should be present his whole time. And any storyline.
He doesn't, in the timeline we see first at the beginning, he doesn't do that. That's a thing he doesn't do. He does the drawing. I don't know. Yeah, that's hard to say.
Let me just look.
That part should. You're right. That should be part of it, because if the drawing is part of it, then also the hand scar should be part of it. Oh, okay, we're getting too far in events.
We are, but it's fine. There's just like questions about like.
We haven't even talked about that guy's brown face yet.
Well, we haven't touched on prison at all.
We got to.
This is a long episode, guys, because this is a packed movie.
We didn't. Okay, so he's getting into the notebooks. We haven't got to a couple things that he goes home before he makes his first trip. Before he figures out his powers, he goes home to his hometown. He goes to visit Lenny, Lenny, right? Which is Eldon
Yes.
Henson.
Yes.
Eldon Henson is basically like a shut-in. He's like a quiet guy. He's still living at home, still living in his old bedroom, in his mom's house, building models and hanging out in his room full of models. Clearly damaged from what happened, but to uh he says some stuff to Ashton Kutcher that like he doesn't really remember,
Mm-hmm.
but there's clearly stuff that happened that like is in Lenny's head. And then he goes, and Ashton Kutcher is such an asshole here, Evan.
This is the worst, one of the worst characters at like
he just
antagonists.
Keeps going to his old friend's house and immediately drudging up all these horrific traumas. So, goes to Amy Smart's house. Well, that's and, like she's so excited to see him, and like it's clearly like a bright spot. And immediately he's just like, "Let's talk about how your dad tried to molest us."
And at the same time, like her life was like not off, like from our seeming surface.
She grew up into a Sarah Connor.
She's a waitress. She's like, but she's happy to see him. She's clear to show this happened, but she's living like she's clearly doing her best.
She had moved on to the point at least where she had buried it and wasn't thinking about it. Was getting by.
Ashton Kutcher's character also is never consistent enough who his character wants to be as like a person, because he's like his character only fits with what they want the scene to be. So he's always every scene's in a vignette of itself, because when he goes back in time and he like confronts when he has to confront Eric Stoltz and calls him the fuck, it's not how current day Ashton Kutcher talks.
Yeah, we can talk about that. We can get into anyway. Amy Smart
commits suicide. This is the big, because he brings up pedophilia. Also, I did do a little bit of research.
She all this shit. She ends up killing herself.
Yeah, which is so dramatic.
Like
that's not really also how trauma like works, but like that is. But again, it's a movie. It's a movie,
and they're not good at dealing with. We know that.
It's so dramatic. So, and the brother's like, "You piece of shit! I'm coming to kill you!"
I'm coming to kill you. She killed herself. I blame you. And so this is when he's like going to he's decided he's going to use his weird powers and experiment with them and try to figure out how to fix all this and save her. And he goes back, he reads, the way it works is he reads the journal, and basically as he reads the memory, like he kind of days of future past into his former body, like Wolverine does in that movie. You know what I'm talking about? You remember?
Oh yeah, I remember. Like
he goes into his past self, his current memory into his past body. But then he's a little kid, and like Joe said, he doesn't act anything like the Ashton Kutcher we've seen at all. Also, he acts in such a way that, like, if you were an adult, you just backhand the kid across the room. You wouldn't even you're Eric Stoltz, you're about to molest, you're a gross creep, and then all of a sudden you're letting some kid call you a fuckbag. You would just boot this kid down. You just
Eric Stoltz goes, How did you do that? All he said was fuck.
What? Talk? What? Yeah, and he calls him up, and I hate the fuckbag thing. They keep treating it like it's some uber insult. Like it's epic, and like it really takes Eric Stoltz down. He has no answer for fuckbag, and it's like, ugh, what? That's nothing. That is a nothing insult.
It's so corny, because that's like you said. Like I think that like the setup stuff with the kids, like even with the trauma stuff, it's not where I'm laughing. I'm laughing when they go back stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, and like you talked about, and I think you just hit on it there, it's corny. It's that embarrassing edginess of the early 2000s. It's like this whole movie, there's an interesting idea here, but the problem, and it fucks up the tone, is this kind of like edgelord, early 2000s, dead baby joke mentality to everything, where like,
well, speaking of dead babies,
real horrific traumas and treat them like, these like, I don't know, superhero moments where a little kid can go back and talk up, and talk down a molester and shit. It's just like, it's all handled so crass.
It's handled so badly. It's
an interesting plot. You can see why this script made it to the blacklist, because it probably wasn't like this.
No.
The ideas were here, but it probably didn't have this kind of sheen of like grime over it. This is like a Christina Aguilera music video. Everything's kind of wet and like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's you take a chip. If you take a chip to it, it'll just scoop off a bunch of gunk.
Scrape a little of this off the screen.
Yeah, no, I actually really like that comparison. But the Christina Aguilera music video so that does happen, right? And it goes back after because I gotta go back. He's like distraught, buddy.
Gets
Yeah,
in it.
first of all,
But the thing is, this is where we get into. He doesn't think anything through, and we didn't really
and that's
talk about what the
fair
butterfly
for
effect means. We made fun of the quote, but we didn't. Maybe there might be people who don't know. The idea is just that something small, like the wings of a butterfly flapping on one side of the world, can create a small ripple in a
so
lake that becomes a wave that becomes a tidal wave.
so then this is
Small changes make big changes.
so these are where the really big criticisms come in for me for this movie. Like, one, it only changes 5 people's lives ever.
Yeah.
It's a really
Well, it only changes the people that he needs it to change. Like, it only affects his mom when it gives her cancer.
Yes.
But any other time he does everything, she's just fine, I guess.
Yeah.
Her life went on normally, even though his was totally changed.
Well, and what's a bummer about it, or not a bummer, but like could have been more interesting, is like, oh, when he does go back, Ethan Suplee's character, like, he's different. Maybe he's not just always the goth.
Yeah.
I guess at one point,
even some subtler stuff around, like when he goes to the diner, it could have been slightly different, like even decorated different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's well, they use the same hospital over and over again.
Yeah.
But I won't fault them. I mean, it was a hit, but it was a low budget. It did.
Yeah.
But so that like it's lazy in the sense of, like you just said, it'll change, like the mom. It doesn't, nothing different with that. Like, I think they throw in one thing. It was like, I think it's this one. We go to the jock setting, and he's like, it's like she has a voicemail with like her and like a boyfriend.
We do see her too, because like the jock timeline is where they go to the psych.
Yes, but earlier she's like, leave a message for me and like Jim or whoever. Like, and he's like Ashton Kutcher says like, oh, who's whoever Jim? Like, he doesn't know, but whatever, we're meant to believe they're rich and they're happy because look at he's like
he's going to an Ivy League school. He's in all the fancy,
and you go with all your friends,
frats, and yeah.
But he finds out that that Foggy Nelson, blanking on that Lenny, is still kind of catatonic. I think
it didn't really fix Lenny. It didn't fix
Lenny's. There's Lenny. Always going to be one.
I want to talk a little bit about the carelessness. He, especially because he's trying to be a tough guy edgelord when he's a little kid, and he's trying to say, he says, keep your hands off of your daughter, but what you need to do is discipline your son, which ends up making Eric Stoltz be even more abusive to his son. Plus, the kid heard him say that when he was Cameron Bright age. He heard him say that.
A baby doll
so
head.
He knows that it's basically weird Ashton Kutcher's fault that happened to him.
But
and then like
twisting a baby doll head while he's at it.
Always at the baby doll head. And so like he's still a psycho, but like that just goes to show, like, and I don't know, Ashton Kutcher never learns anything from that experience. He never takes any more care on his other trips.
No, that's the problem.
Not make dumb, careless mistakes.
I'm like, it's like, I'm fine with this.
Choose your words more carefully, dude.
The first few times, right, in a time travel, but you're fine with the mistakes, right? You Groundhog's Day or a Happy Death Day, right? We keep fucking up because we're making, and then you'll even Amy Smart's 12 Dates at Christmas. I'm not even kidding. Has better time travel, like reliving the same day over. I'm considering time travel. Has better mistake care than Butterfly Effect.
Ashton Kutcher, like, for all his studies in college goes, he didn't learn about the butterfly effect because he is just.
But he's a big psych major.
Going off the chain. He's just flying by the seat of his pants. He like never. I mean, a couple times he kind of does it in a panic, but he never thinks anything through farther than I'll just go back and do this.
So he and he just keeps doing it, and then like the first one actually, right, the jock one.
He fixes it for him. It's pretty good for him and Amy Smart.
It's not a bad timeline, and honestly, all you need to do was just not murder a guy, and there's faults in his murder. So he's different, right? But he realizes because it's the same age, and he's proposing in college, which is crazy.
Yeah, he's probably like 22 still, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're about graduated by the. Yeah, let's just say 21, 22.
21 or 22, something like that.
Big guy on campus, like, clearly a dickhead, bullies, is a bully, like,
it's all one of those things where he wakes up and he realizes he's got kind of a nice life, but he's also maybe kind of a person he doesn't like, he doesn't realize.
take. In this time, this is the timeline you take.
You have time to change. You can just change. Just be yourself now.
You could just correct. You could just be like, "Hey, man, I wasn't." You could filter it out, and you maybe change the frat culture, and it's a different movie.
Yeah, there you go.
At least at that campus and your friends. But he doesn't do that. He takes Amy Smart out and basically is gonna propose to her. But someone's like, "Hey, man, your fucking car's wrecked." He's like, "What?" And they run out, and where Tommy is it Tommy? Yeah, where Tommy gets his old dog's dog collar, and he remembers it.
Yeah, I don't know, he kept it, but he hung it from the rearview mirror, so they know it's him.
And Amy Smart, there's a lot of dumb lines in this. Oh yeah, I didn't tell you he got out like a week ago.
You didn't think to mention that, huh? And then I love the whole thing of like, he goes to say, "Don't, he might be watching us." It's like, well, it seems like he's pretty much knows what's going on.
And like Ashton Kutcher, then there's a fight, right? And Ashton Kutcher pepper sprays him.
Well, can we talk about the fact that like Tommy's a little runt, and I would have throttled that kid. I'd have chokeslammed that kid through a table.
Yeah, Ashton Kutcher's like a big actor.
The guy at the movies, he catches the dude at the movies with the pipe. But then I was watching that little kid throw punches in his tiny little arm. It's like,
yeah, it was a wrong cast.
There's no way I'd be so stunned from that pipe that I would not be able to throttle this little kid. And then Ashton Kutcher's like 6'2".
Yeah, he's a big guy. It's wrong casting. And then, yeah, he does that.
Honestly, I have right here, Ashton did what needed to be done. Put down one dog for another. That was my note here.
That's a good note. But also, it's 2004. He's a white Ivy League rich kid who was in self-defense who has no priors to our knowledge, and defended off a guy who just got out of prison. That man, there's a difference between prison and jail. There's no trial, there's no anything. They sent him right to prison.
Yeah, I remember somebody at one point being like, "Oh, we can definitely get you off on self-defense." That clearly doesn't happen.
His mom was like, "We're going to try a self-defense title."
It's like she's talking to him. He's already in prison, right? He's like behind the glass.
No, he's behind the glass. He's in prison. Yeah. As if
you don't go straight to prison.
As if his mom wouldn't post up bail.
Yeah. They're clearly rich. They clearly got the money.
So, it's again, I get movie logic. I get where it needs to go. It's not a, but it's just when you think about it, because then there's only because what about Kaylee? I actually think part of that timeline was she killed herself again. And that's why the mom. No, that's why the mom didn't answer.
That's pretty dark, man.
They didn't ever say
exactly what happened.
But because he asked, "What about Kelly?" and she doesn't say a fucking word about Kelly. So we get to prison, and there's the one real famous line, and this movie's so obsessed with fucking rape.
You want to say this? Whoever wrote this line watched Roadhouse.
Blood on my knife or shit on my dick.
Yeah, he saw the "I used to fuck guys like you" in prison and said, "We can do grosser."
Yeah, and that's a line that said he has a stereotypical Hispanic religious.
That is character actor Kevin Durant.
Oh, he's very white.
Brown face.
He's very white.
He's a white guy. He's maybe most notably the Blob in Wolverine Origins.
And and he's in prison and like, I gotta get out, figure it out, and he's like begging his mom to get the notebooks.
The white supremacists steal his notebooks, so he can't use his notebooks to get.
And the white supremacists just read it like he's like they're in high school girls. Like, and one day I went to
he's reading his journal diary out to all the other girls.
Like a lot of just things. That's why this movie to me is hysterical. A lot of just things just don't fit.
Yeah.
So and they make it very.
The same guy who said "blood on my knife" or "shit on my dick" is also like, "I found your Smash book. Ooh, Ashton likes Kimmy."
Yeah, and the problem with it is though they're reading it and it's some of the most dramatic shit ever. Where they're still prison, they still go, "Oh man, this. You want to join our gang? It's pretty messed up life."
It's kind of same thing. Kind of happened to me. It's kind of what messed me up.
Yeah, like everyone's just a cartoon character in this movie. Like,
oh yeah.
And I think the biggest cartoon character is Kaylee all the time. Like,
Yeah, well, especially where we're about to go with
yes,
Kaylee is like
so
so far. She's such a like a stereotype of a cliche of a horrific like of a ignorant person's idea of a sex worker. So
so there's a big question here. I just looked at my notes. Which we'll get to because it's usually the cliche of the sex work, and that's where we're gonna go. So you get to notebooks. Why don't so there's about 5 timeline changes here, right? 4 or 5. Why don't the journals change? Is it just because like if it's like Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, is there like there's just always these canon
right, he's got some
events?
canon event. Well, is it like the events we see? The blackouts are like
They're
his
canon event. Okay.
they're a canon event. Those blackouts he can always focus on those because no matter what that blackout happened,
Because I guess
whatever happens, because that's a travel point. The
so I
blackout is
guess
a travel point.
the
So
journals were suggested prior to
right,
the big event. Okay.
right. We
Um
don't. Um, he starts the journal after he writes about
he writes
the
about the
thing.
draw. It's
He
after
writes
the
about the
drawings.
molestation like after it happened.
Yeah, which it also confuses me that like he doesn't remember them, but he was able to journal about them at a certain. And I'm not. We already spent too much time on that.
But so anyway, he
So
gets his journals back in prison. He's doing his like emergency.
and he doesn't get the ones he wants either.
Right, he just gets some pages because they get ripped out of his hand,
But he
and
gets
so
raped first.
it's the blockbuster, right?
But
That's where he goes back here.
he gets raped first.
He gets mouth raped.
He gets yeah, and he's gonna do 2 guys
No,
at
no, he's
once.
gonna go down for mouth rape, and he stabs the guys. He doesn't
Yeah,
ever. I don't
yeah.
think he ever.
No,
Does he?
there's a scene they imply that it happens to him.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I might have taken notes. I'll take your word for it. Sorry, I missed it.
That was I think his breaking point to be like, well, I got to go give myself over the white supremacists so I could.
So whatever it takes to get this
Yeah,
back.
and like we said earlier, Ashton Kutcher had a note. I mean, I get it's part of the movie, but it's still jarring to always hear a K and an N.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He
Um,
definitely drops some. Yeah.
and so he travels back, and then this is when we just skip to the blockbuster.
Is this that one? No, 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 no. This is when he goes back to Crockett because this is when he gives Lenny the shard. He's like,
Oh fuck, you're right.
and again, this is the thing where he doesn't choose his words carefully.
He says,
He's
"Take
not like
care of him."
Lenny. He's got my dog in a bag. Take this sharp thing and cut my dog out while I distract him. He's like, Lenny, today is your day of destiny. You're gonna right the wrongs. Take this dagger.
Yeah, yeah. He just
He
a
just gives
couple
it basically
words.
a murder pep talk.
This Simpsons fucking Treehouse of Horror toaster does this butterfly effect better.
Yeah.
Everything's fine except for the poisonous gas that flips our insides out. Um,
It's so funny, like the setup. The setup is so long of Ashton Kutcher handing him this shard. You're like, okay, we get it. We know what's gonna happen. Like
yes,
you
that's
don't even have. There's no question that he's ever gonna do anything but stab Tommy.
yeah, and that's the main point of being
They're
like
so careful to not say anything about the dog to make sure he doesn't accidentally give him an idea of the right thing to do.
mm-hmm.
You know, the way he talks for like
Lenny is stabbing
5 minutes.
Tommy tenfold.
Yeah.
Apparently also I was reading some. There's not many like fun facts and shit about here, but like one of them was Lenny. Why am I always blanking on his name? Lenny Ellen Henson also did a little bit of weight loss and gain for this movie.
Oh, okay. I thought definitely the end one we're going to talk about
the good Lenny.
He definitely looks thinner than
good
that,
Lenny is 20 pounds lighter. Bad Lenny's always 20 pounds heavier.
Of course, because being fat is a moral failing and it makes you a bad person.
Actor's choice. But it's also not like sound bad. Fat enough where it's a big difference.
It's not real noticeable, no. It's not nearly as noticeable as his soul patch.
There is some facial hair in this movie, like Ashton Kutcher's goatee. When he's cool guy, frat guy.
He's got your beard in his first first college incarnation. He's got your beard, but then when he becomes frat guy, he's got just the goatee.
Just the goatee,
he's real Tony Stark. He's real Tony Stark in that.
Yeah. Very of the time too. So Journal's back, right? and we get there, and Lenny stabs him, and we go back. Oh, and Kaylee gets
Kaylee still gets hit with the board, but this time it splits her whole cheek open.
And Kutcher wakes up, and it's kind of back to normal.
It's kind of basically back to normal. Oh, but Lenny's worse off.
Well,
Tommy's dead
for his life.
Right, Ashton Kutcher's back to normal, but he's made things worse for his friends.
Yeah. So yes, Tommy's dead. Lenny is in a straight up loony bin.
Just strapped to a bed in an empty room, but apparently totally lucid, because later he goes to talk to him and he's just having full sense. He's not catatonic. He's just choosing to lay there quietly, I think.
Yeah. Makes no sense. But this is where you get Kayla. This was where my 12, 13-year-old was like, oh, it's freaked me out. She is, you said it, a cliche prostitute crack whore.
But also, she looks like an Evil Dead hag.
Dude, she's scary looking.
She doesn't just look dirty and scummy and and trashy. She's horrific looking.
She's scar.
It's not just the scar on her face. It's the dark circles around her eyes.
No,
and
it's
the way
not the
she
scar.
talks and acts is all really horrific.
You wouldn't pay. No, you wouldn't pay that. It is literally a $3 prostitute.
Yeah, I cannot imagine. She says 50, and I was like, no way.
But he's like, I'll talk to you this. And then Ashton Kutcher somehow makes the scene even worse by what he tells her about to get her to be believe me about the time travel.
Right, he's like, I know your life is shitty, but just know it could have been better until I fucked it all up.
And he's like, well, she's like, everyone knows, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, but your toes curl when you come. Or whatever, her orgasm. And it's
that's what I'm saying. This movie, every chance this movie has to be written by a 13-year-old.
But Ashton, I don't even think in the timeline that you had sex with her and you got to have sex for that long enough to even know that detail.
He's got. Well, we haven't talked about how he gets all the memories. So he's probably got plenty of memories of having sex.
He keeps all the memories, and plus all the memories are truncating his brain to grow.
They're actually giving him brain damage, which is why his dad went insane.
And his nose bleeding. One thing that does happen on this timeline, old timeline, I should say, we never mentioned this, and it's really important. I just remembered the fact of this. His mom and him go to a psychic, and it's one of the worst scenes in a movie ever. She goes,
it's only in there because of because of the original ending. We haven't got to that yet, but it exists to inform the original ending.
Yeah, there's two things.
But it is a horrible, terrible scene.
There's two things to inform the original ending. You want? I guess I'll save them for when we talk the ending.
I mean, yeah, if you want to wait and talk, I did want to. I don't know.
There's a lot. We're still going through it
because they go to the psychic, and the psychic basically tells him he has no lifeline. You have no soul.
And the mom's like, it's everyone. She's fucking around. I don't know. And then the mom also mentions that she's had 2 stillborns. Another wild thing
because of the tone of this movie, I thought she was about to reveal that Ashton Kutcher survived an abortion attempt. I was so sure she was about to be like, I was scared and I almost got an abortion, but it didn't take, and you survived, and that was going to be why he wasn't supposed to live.
So there's probably something on a cutting room floor with that.
I was so sure that's where they were going, because and it's a fucked up thought to have, but this movie had me in that headspace where they're well, just whatever the most terrible thing in any given situation is, what this movie's going to do. So that's just what I assumed was about to happen.
So those things get said, and this is in the director's cut. But I love in that scene he's talking to his mom about that, what you were going to say. But he goes, why didn't you ever tell me that? And I thought, what mother would be like, hey, 21-year-old son, guess what? I had some struggles.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't know if I'm sure people do, and I don't get the impression a lot of women want to talk about their miscarriages all the time.
I could tell you it very, very seriously. No, that is a conversation that you have in very certain settings, and not once probably with your fucking son.
No.
Anyway.
Where are we at in the timeline? So he comes back
we're at Kaylee Crackor.
Okay. Yeah,
and he's like, I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna save you. And she just like witchly cackles to it.
She does cackle.
Like,
she is
right.
like a witch. She is like a villain in a horror movie.
Well, dude,
she is so much like an Evil Dead hag. It's crazy.
My last note of the movie, I mean, we have more to talk about, but my last note in my notes is, it's the opposite of It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, save that because I have a note on that too. So
yeah, okay.
Hold off on that little bit because I also have a note.
But he journals back, and this is when we then go.
This is to the blockbuster.
This is when we go to the blockbuster, and we finally see what happens. And what happens is I think we did get revealed at one point. They blew up a mother and her baby.
Oh yeah, we blew up a mother and her baby. We know that.
We talked about that. This is what I'm going to stop that event. He's going to
stop it from happening. He's like going to run up and stop or shoo them away. When he runs up, Tommy is like, "Oh, it's fine," and he goes up and he actually like tackles the mom and baby to the ground.
Yes.
And Ashton Kutcher, Evan kind of stops and is like, "Huh?" And at that exact moment, he gets blown the fuck up. He stops for some reason in front of the mailbox. Like, what was his plan?
To take the thing, like,
I thought his plan was to take the thing out of the mailbox and, like, throw it away or something.
Yeah, but he's also old enough, Ashton Kutcher, to realize this is a bad, let me stop the mother.
He should have done what Tommy did. Like, Tommy actually
immediately run out what Tommy did and just be like, no, not just standing for the
But it's like he's doing that and he gets to the mailbox and then Tommy runs past him and he kind of is like, huh?
Yeah.
And then he just gets he just forgets about the bomb.
It's stupid. It's stupid.
It's incredibly stupid.
So then we wake up.
We wake up into an ableist nightmare where they treat a very real type of disability that I guarantee people who saw this movie have as the bottom barrel worst thing that could ever happen to you.
Yeah, so he's a double amputee.
He's a double amputee. And he's in a wheelchair too. We don't really know. He has legs, but they apparently don't work.
And it's only funny because Ashton Kutcher's acting, like, in how they handle it.
It's definitely like the crassness of how it is handled. It makes it very funny.
Which is really, it's also really fucked up in real life that needs to be pointed out. Ashton Kutcher's his twin brother has cerebral palsy, and like wanted to be like I think went to school to be like assigned like some sort of like medical. He's a smart guy, like medical something to work with special needs. Very like not an idiot when it comes to people with disabilities, and like it's part of his life. And like,
you think you would have a softer touch.
You think this would be not in this? Just put
but then again, you would think he wouldn't write a rape apology letter.
So that's all said pre-rape apology letter, but that's a real thing that you have to imagine. Like that is as close. I mean, there's a difference between the disabilities.
Sure, but I mean, he's a person who's struggling to use his appendages, who's stuck in who's trapped in a wheelchair. There are like things that like I said, types of disabilities that not only people in his life are going to deal with, but people who are going to watch his movie easily deal with. And he treats it like it's like the worst. I mean, that's like the end. And it's worse than when he was in prison. Worse than when Kaylee was a crack whore.
Well,
the worst thing is that he's a double amputee and somebody's banging his girl.
Yeah, and he goes like he wakes. He's oh, and he's freaking out. And apparently he's a good dude. Like, that's the worst part of the story is, like, everyone's like...
Seems like he was fine, and then he just turns into an asshole.
Yeah, like, he tries to kill himself in the silliest way.
Yeah. I love that they make it, like, dude, Tommy makes a joke about it immediately. He, like, doesn't take it seriously at all. That gives me the impression that this might not be the first failed suicide attempt, even. Like,
maybe, but...
He kind of brush it. He's pretty crappy. He kind of brushes it off pretty callously.
But like, so like in this time, like Tommy finds God, but like also Tommy alludes that like Evan's like very supportive guy who's like giving them advice about fundraisers and this and like they allude he's not a bad dude. He's just this amputee. They also all go to the same college, which weird, but I get
also,
it.
Eldon Henson now looks like white Jesus. He's wearing all white. He has like long flowing blonde hair and a little soul patch.
Lenny is banging his girl.
And Lenny's banging and
He has the wildest speech with her. They like have the event, and then
Oh,
he like
they
walks
go
away,
off
and he's
to
like,
their little side
he,
quest and have their little conversation.
he's just like, so you gonna fuck like what? You ever think about me? What it could have been? And I give Amy Smart credit here. Look on her face, like, I was when we were like 6, man.
Yeah, she like humors him because she can see he's clearly having a tough time that day. You're like, this is my friend who's usually fine. He's clearly struggling with his disability today, so I'm fine to humor him and talk about this if it'll make him feel better.
Yeah,
Like
I
it's
love this.
clearly like not a thing she like has thought about very much. Like she cares about her friend, but like
and
obviously well behind her.
well, the other thing with that too is I think they allude to that like because then after that conversation she walks up to Eldon to Lenny and he's like not yet. I think they allude to like, oh, we're like married, we're gonna get
You're gonna
like
get it.
some
They're
sort of like
engaged.
big
They're
life
gonna be married.
event,
Yeah.
and he's like not yet, but like this I get it, it's tough, but like Ashton Kutcher, right, he goes through a lot of fucking events to get up to here already.
Yeah.
Probably should just stick with this. Like, your life's bad because you don't have limbs, but like you seem to be doing pretty well.
And you finally found you flipped the script. Like when your life was better, everybody else's life got worse.
Yeah.
Now you've taken that on. You have become uh, Christ has risen, or whatever his name was supposed to be, and you have taken their sins on you. All their lives are improved, and you have like taken the brunt. And he does eventually go one step further. So we'll get there.
But Evan is not a good person ever, so he doesn't do that. He freaks out. Does find one of his journals because he wasn't able to journal anymore.
After he was no arms, he couldn't write any more journals.
But he still had one.
Which is clearly the reason they came up with the double amputee idea was to kind of force him into that.
Get him
position.
back to molestation.
Yeah.
But this does bring
give him less save points to use.
This also brings up the point that no one's talked about. We haven't talked about it. None of my things. Not once did his mother go, "You black out, let me see them journals." They're pretty free-willing around, and they have some fucked up shit in them.
Yeah, she never looked through them, I guess. She was very conscious of his privacy.
Bad mother there.
That's right. That's what it is. Everybody's life is better, but his mom's. That's right. You think everybody's life is better, and it's like, well, that's why he's going to kill himself because of that thing. Everybody's life is better, and I'll just get myself out of the equation. And then Tommy saves him, and they go up to visit his mom, and that's when you find out that the mom has cancer because she started smoking when he got his arms.
This is the biggest stretch too of like cause and effect. In the rules of the movie.
Yeah.
Because not many things have been like this, like the one thing happened and these other things like side. So also the funniest things when they go up there, they go, what is it? One pack, like it's not medical jargon. It's like it
was like day. 14 pack years, I think they said, or something.
Yeah,
which isn't very long. 14 pack.
No,
years.
She would not have.
Now you get stage 4 cancer from that.
She would not have stage 4 emphysema cancer, like all that, like everything for her age and what she would have smoked in that like 7 years.
I mean, she would have had to have literally been like smoking like 3 packs a day.
Yeah, because they do little things early on where he like stops her from smoke, but it's never like it's stupid. What I keep coming back to, it's stupid.
But he's already in this headspace where he's going to kill himself.
Yeah,
he's got one last chance to save everybody. So
his mental health is deteriorating. So where he's like, I have a plan this time. He calls back to the molestation. And he goes, I'm actually going to use the blockbuster on Eric Stoltz.
He's just going to threaten Eric Stoltz with it, I guess.
But he lights it. So he takes it. But he hides it down there. He like runs over and he's like, he lights it. And you already blew up your limbs once. It's a really bad plan.
Yeah.
Like honestly,
that's the thing about this whole movie is like we talked about already. Not only does he never think before, he never learns anything.
But
he keeps making the same mistakes. He keeps making worse mistakes.
But where is his plan to literally just be like, because this is how this movie does work. I'm gonna chop his dick off.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would prove everything.
I don't know. His whole thing was he's going to destroy the blockbuster so that that prank can't ever happen and that part can't take place. That's his original thing. But when he goes to get it, Aristo's like, "Hey, put that down," and then he kind of like uses it to threaten him. But he lights it because it's not a good threat unless you light him because it has to be lit to be scary.
So this all happens and there's kind of a back and forth. And it comes out of the hand,
dropped and it rolls away.
And young Amy Smart,
little innocent Kaylee, 7-year-old,
picks it up. Once again, she was old enough to do the prank eventually.
But she picks.
Oh yeah. This is where the timeline skips.
You see Kaylee, and she seems very young, a year or two younger than Evan. Although it seems like they're the same age as the rest of the movie. I don't know.
So does Tommy seem like the same age? Like,
I was gonna say, are Tommy and her twins? Are they all the same age?
Their college ages don't make any fucking. But she picks that shit up, and guess what?
And she goes, "A sparkler!"
A sparkler! Oh, there's some funny ass ADR in here, like the baby hand. That might be the thumbnail, not the shitty poster.
The hand,
just the baby hand. Blows up, kills her, and this is actually what I do like. It reminds me of like kind of we wake up. He's in a mental. He's been institutionalized his whole life. At this point,
do we know what happens to anybody else in this timeline?
No, it's
anything with them. You remember?
No, no. All we really get is he runs to the movie.
You hope that maybe Tommy had a better life. Maybe his dad was treated him better because he lost his daughter or whatever. I don't know.
Who the fuck?
But knows? They don't ever say anything. Basically, you just find out he's basically been institutionalized his whole life. Now, I do like this. There's an element here. Unfortunately, I think they introduced it way too late. But
I think you're gonna say what I like, though.
He's been in the institution his whole life, and he wakes up. But you get the impression that he's been himself who did all this time traveling that whole time. So he's told his doctors all these stories before.
That's what I like. I like
so
that.
There's a total recall element to it, where his doctor is like, "This is just part of your illness. I've heard all this before. We know all this. Blah 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 blah."
You're not a frat bro.
They could have introduced that a lot earlier and given this movie another layer. That
That's
total
fun.
recall isn't even really happening, or
identity, or it's all that's fun. Like
that would have that could have, I don't know. I was like, man, real missed opportunity.
Because I like the doctor too. Like the actor who's playing the doctor in that scene too. Like he's doing a good job, just being like, no, he's gone. Like this is and because of this incident right now, nothing. He never wrote anything. There is no journal. There is nothing. But he's able to get one video, or at least this is. So I have all 4 endings. We'll read out.
Okay.
We'll save the one we watched once again to the very last one. What people saw in the theaters was he escapes the mental institution.
I was gonna say, what does he? Okay, you're gonna get to our ending. So he escapes.
I didn't. So before
he escapes the mental institution.
For listening purposes, I didn't watch. I only watched our ending, but I have a write out of each.
Okay, all right.
One. So the theatrical release ending shows Evan. He escapes all of these ones. He escapes out of the mental institution. I don't know how.
He gets out of his room and he gets into he gets the doctor. Remember, he's talking to the doctor and he steals his key, and then he gets back into the office, right?
I forget it. I just know he gets out and he's able to now see videotapes of time being. And this is how he gets back. But
there's like a video of like the day they moved in or something.
Yeah. He you know what? We've already taken this time. So this is what we say. So after escaping the hospital staff and barricading himself in an office, Evan travels back one final time. You were right, via the use of an old home video to the day Kaylee first met. He intentionally upsets her, so she and Tommy will choose to live with.
The theatrical release I remember.
Yeah, this theatrical. He says like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you and your family if you don't."
I hate you. Never come. I don't ever want to see you again.
He threatens her life once again
because she has told him that the only reason she stayed with her abusive dad was because of him. Even as a little kid, she was so enamored with him. She stayed.
such a selfish character flaw because maybe she was very into Lenny. I'm saying maybe she met another boy because of this timeline to make her want to stay. Like it's loose. So, as a result, the not destructive upbringing. They don't grow up with Evan. Lenny is never bullied, and they all go on their happy, successful lives. Evan awakens in a college dorm where Lenny is his roommate. As a test, he asks where Kaylee is, to which Lenny responds, "Who's Kaylee?" Satisfied that his friend's futures are secure, Evan burns his journals and videos to avoid altering the timeline ever again. 8 years later, in New York City, Evan exists in an office building, or exits an office building and passes Kaylee on the street. Despite a brief look towards each other, they both keep walking. That's what everyone saw in the theaters.
Yeah, I remember that. That's
so there's two more before our ending. The happy alternative ending is Evan and Kaylee stop on the sidewalk when they cross paths. They introduce themselves. Evan asks her for coffee. The open-ended alternative ending is similar, but when they pass each other, Kaylee keeps walking, and Evan turns around and just starts following her.
What a fucking creep.
Before we get to, which is one of, I would say, number one of the craziest fucking endings of all time.
So wild. They tried to get this through.
These are like this movie. My main question to this, even with our ending, is for a movie that's all like moral, trying to be like have a point. What's its message? Because it's just bleak and shit. The message is if you don't
well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that answer to that. I was gonna say though, I do think the bleakest ending, the director's cut ending, is the one that fits the tone of the movie the best.
Yes, it does.
The weird happy ending is like so out of character for this movie.
Apparently, the open-ended one too was used in the novelization of the movie. So anyway, the director's cut ending, which is great. So he gets a video of his mother's birth, of his mother giving birth, right? That's the...
Oh, that's how... Okay, that's the one...
I believe that, yeah. And sorry, momentarily...
and he's able to go back to
consistent with
his birth.
Yeah,
it's weird because he doesn't have a memory. He just
by
has
watching a family video, which is
about it.
Yeah, so here we go.
Like all the other ones he would have had some kind of core memory from that time.
Evan
but not as a baby, you don't form those.
Yeah, with his brain terribly damaged and aware that he has committed a psychiatric faculty where he's lost of access to his time travel ability, Evan makes a desperate attempt to change the timeline by watching a family video which shows his mother just before she was about to give birth. Evan travels back to the moment and strangles himself in the womb with his umbilical cord.
You see this, by the way.
It's all seen. You can watch this on YouTube.
You see it. You see a little baby in a utero doing it. Then did you notice on the ultrasound, the baby is like pulling the cord on the ultrasound? They're putting an ultrasound, and it's like the baby in the ultrasound is.
Oh,
it's so fucked up. It's incredible. But I like as he's dying, we also see that he's still getting memories somehow. So even though he would have no way of knowing any of this, he gets flashes of his mom getting married and remarried and having a baby. Kylie and Tommy going off to live with their mom and having a happy childhood.
Yeah.
Lenny living his life and just growing up to be a normal dude or whatever. Even though there's no way he would ever possibly know any of that.
No, it's yes, everyone has a great, and that's where it's like, is the message that if you don't exist, things are good.
Yeah, the message is the same message of the Married with Children season 4 Christmas episode, It's a Bundiful Life, where Al learns that his family would be better off if he had never been born.
Dude, it's a wild movie. It's one of the dumbest I think it's, for me, I think it's one of the worst movies we've ever talked about.
Like I said, I truly believe the core idea here is pretty cool.
Sure, it's a cool idea, but
the weird, unexplained time travel powers. I like the cyclical nature, Terminator style, where it's like a closed loop. all that stuff works for me. What doesn't work is the era it was made in. That's the problem.
Yeah, give a different cast, give a different script. I like, and this is where I'm.
Is like an art house or like an indie movie, like a primer, where you just like everything's real kind of like simple and I don't know.
What I like is the movie is a perfect, so bad it's good movie for me. It's so entertaining. Like generally, like we always look forward to talking to each other. I had a shit day. I was looking forward to this because I was like, this movie. I mean, we talked for an hour and a half, and we probably could go for another half hour.
Oh yeah,
it's so fucking bonkers, and like it's like the showgirls of psychological thrillers. It's like, you want to go this way? Well, we decided to do it this way. Like,
it's a very, and it's like very of its era. It's one of those like, it could, the way this movie was made and the actors that are in it and the choices that were in it could only have come out in like I said, between 1999 and 2007 is the only era this movie can get made.
Yeah,
in this way, like this can come out like this,
and that's what makes it. Like it's hard to say, but it's funny and it's fun, and it's one of those things where like I hope How to Get Made covers it one day, because it would be.
Like I said, I enjoyed it kind of like unironically, but I could still enjoy it in a different way now. Like I couldn't throw it away.
No.
It's such a weird little artifact and so many bizarre choices.
I will say this, the story that I'm shocked to even say is, and now I don't feel bad for doing this. When I was in, when I was a douchebag, like 17, 18, or whatever, AMC, we go to AMC's and they used to put their name, they used to put like their favorite movie underneath their name. So it would be like Brian and like Alien, or, like whatever. Joe, Goodfellas, or whatever. You pick. I'm sitting there, I'm getting popcorn. Girl's just doing her job. She's probably my age at the time or something. And it says the butterfly.
Loves movies because she works at the movie theater. Everybody works at the movie theater. Fucking loves movies.
It says the butterfly effect, and I just go, "Oh, butterfly effect? Really?" Like the most piece of shit way. And I always felt, years later, I always felt bad about it, right? Like after, like when I.
Yeah, sure. You're like, that's just unnecessarily rude. No.
Yes, it was rude to be rude, and I take that, and I changed my opinion of feeling bad for that now after seeing this fucking movie and being like,
this movie shouldn't be your favorite movie.
This is what I'm going to project to the world. Yeah. This isn't, we already used the Donnie Darko comparison. This isn't Donnie Darko where there's like poignancy to it. Like, I truly mean, like, its message doesn't have a message. His message was the writers were like, this is gonna be fucking sick.
Yeah, its whole shit is like, this is rad.
Isn't that tragic? Like, the creators of this movie's favorite video game was Manhunt.
Or Max Payne.
Yeah, probably more Max Payne. But it's just so like, yeah, I don't think I could take people seriously that would watch it in 2023. That was like, not like how you and I talked about it. You're like, there's
right. If you tried to come at me like, no, this is legitimately a good, thoughtful movie with things to say.
That's what I mean.
I can't take you. I could not take you seriously. But if you're like, this movie's bananas, you should check it out, I'd be like, all right.
Yeah. If someone came to me and was like, yeah, but like, isn't it so sad what happens? And I'd be like, no, because everything bad happens.
Yeah.
Like
this movie's a trauma dump. Like, there's this movie bad thing that could ever happen to a person happens in this movie.
This movie doesn't give you any time to relax, to actually make me feel bad for any of the people. And has nothing to do with.
And there's like, a wild maniac at the center of this movie who's causing all this trauma and like and passing it off and changing who gets it. But like, he's like a tornado and he's constantly swirling through these people's lives and making terrible, thoughtless decisions. So like, what am I feeling bad for? Like,
let me drudge it. And it all starts from his first encounter, literally just being like, hey, let me see this girl who's doing pretty well. Like, the worst thing right now in her life is that her job isn't like.
She's a Sarah Connor waitress. Yeah. She's just bad at her job.
And And you have the fucking nerve to be like, yeah, remember that time that it happened to me once that I know.
Well,
It probably
also,
happened to you every fucking weekend.
Yeah, you also you show up in somebody's life after damn near 10 years, somebody who was like traumatized with you, and you were like, I'm gonna come back for you, and you never did. You maybe talk to them like a couple times and like feel out that situation. You don't even know that person. That much time has gone by. You don't know them anymore. You don't know what they're like or what they've been through or what they're willing to share with you. Like you need to like calmly like walk your way in. This is like if you ever bring it up at all, it's not till like the third or fourth time you guys have hung out and you know the situation. Like you know that you have a rapport where you can go back to this stuff. You don't just, hey, we're in the parking lot of where you work. We want to have a quick chat about how your dad probably raped you 1,000 times. No?
Yeah,
Oh, you don't
it's
want to talk?
crazy.
Oh, did that upset you? I'm sorry. I'm so
It's
shocked.
crazy. And I guess our what's that conclusion to this, or not, or a thesis of this is Ashton Kutcher, and that's who it is. It's Ashton Kutcher. It's not Evan. Never learns from that first fucking mistake of bringing shit up too abruptly and quickly.
Right. He could have learned a lesson of like let sleeping dogs lie right there.
Yeah. Like, okay, you change it once. And like I said, the first time, not a bad, like, yeah, maybe,
He ended up in prison though.
Yeah, because he murdered, but it it's just a shitty fucking movie. And also the movie, it's weird too that the movie is like, you're actually just watching the story of Jesus Christ. I mean, he gives himself the freaking, what's
He
that called?
finally does the stigmata.
The
Well, I was
stigmata.
thinking, more than that,
That's the
what
biggest
it
plot
felt
hole,
like to
bud.
me,
That's
and
the
this
biggest
might,
plot hole.
yeah,
The
it's
hands.
the
The fact
hand.
that fact
So
that is
that had to have happened at the same time as the picture, but it didn't. They
but
never talk about it.
but he also doesn't journal about like the hand thing. He doesn't. The teacher still has the same reaction of the drawings, but not him piercing his hands.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm saying, like, when it happened, that's the fault. The fault of that. This is actually the point I want to bring up. The fault, the real lapse of the rules of the time travel. Like I said, you and I both agree. We don't like when things really over explain.
yeah. I don't mind that they kind
Is
of leave it
they
vague.
abandoned it in that scene.
Yeah,
Because he's able to do that, then come right back. The scene needs him to do that and come right back and see, look, instead
yeah,
of,
yeah.
instead of,
It's weird. It's like it doesn't. I think that the time travel in the rest of the movie is sloppy enough that even though I think that's the worst of it, I don't think it's so egregious by comparison that I'm like it all kind of fits as far as I'm. That's fine. I do think that's weird, but I guess I don't know. He does different things each time he goes back, so we never really know what happens during those original blackouts from the first part of the movie. We don't know, so maybe he never did the hand thing. That's something that comes later. I don't know. But
yeah.
the last thing I wanted to say before we wrap up is the type of story this was reminding me of, and it might just be because I was rewatching the last couple seasons of What We Do in the Shadows, and they have but it's like a genie or a monkey's paw situation where every time he like makes a wish or goes back and try to fix something, he fucks it up worse, and he doesn't. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
he doesn't think his wishes through well enough, and he ends up getting fucked up. You know?
it's a better monkey paw story than
Yeah.
yeah, and once again, it's
Yeah,
just,
it's almost like honestly, it's like edgier bedazzled, right? Where like
yeah,
he keeps kind of like trying to change his life for the better and accidentally fucking it up worse, and like
that's a good
that's
point.
kind of what this movie is.
Yeah, and they're like in Bedazzled, there's like some timelines that are pretty good for you.
I'd always gone with the superstar guy, the
Basketball
basketball
player.
guy with the little dick.
Yeah,
That's fine. He'd be
yeah.
fine.
He would. I'm sure he was doing fine in that. Yeah, it's a movie.
It's quite a movie.
And
Some choices were made.
it's still the most baffling thing that uh like in 2004 Ashton Kutcher was on this, and like people definitely rented this fucking movie, watched this movie, like we're gonna watch this like fun like thrillery thing, because like let's say like with Ashton Kutcher, and then they watch this shit. Like it's not
Like, I love the idea that fans of that '70s show and Dude, Where's My Car were like,
yes,
let's go see the new Ashton Kutcher movie. And like, it's like 30% child molestation.
And yes, it's. Imagine going on a date and be like, "We're gonna watch this fucking thriller. It's a good thriller. Like Ashton Kutcher's trying something serious."
It starts off with Eric Stoltz videotaping some shirtless kids.
Um,
Like that's the very beginning.
Because it ain't. It's not. It's not like the same year Texas Chainsaw remake comes out, right? Like Jessica Biel.
It's right around that time, though. I think 2003 is
No, it's
Chainsaw
same year, I think.
Yeah.
That where I'm getting at here. That I know like we're going on a date. I'm taking him to a slasher horror movie that's starring a popular, teen actress,
yeah.
TV. So just I can't get over how. I'm glad the movie exists, put it that way, because it's so bananas. I'd rather something be bananas than being like, but yeah, edgelord. I think your tweet nailed it. It's just the edgelord movie.
Well, yeah, like I said, there's a cool, interesting idea at the core of this movie, but unfortunately, there's so much 2004 and like edgy, new metal kind of vibes just
the soundtrack
spread all over this thing.
Doesn't The Reason at one point play?
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Hoobastank.
So surprised that this doesn't end with like a Linkin Park song over the credits. It really seems like
it's I for the sake of story, they made for the sake of the movie and the story, the director's cut is the superior version. It's I'm not saying it's a good movie, but it has more effect.
It fits better for the nasty kind of mean-spirited tone of the movie.
For 2004 and being a movie studio and being New Line Cinema, what people saw in the theater fits better.
Well, yeah, you want Amy Smart and Ashton Kutcher to have a happy ending.
Because actually, I'm going to keep talking. I think, they don't have they have happier endings. This movie never has the happy ending is the one they choose of them getting coffee together.
I think the happy ending is just them living their lives and everybody ended up.
No, but you gotta think about how like dummies think.
You're talking about Hollywood happy ending where they get together.
Yes, Hollywood happy. Because another movie that does something like this, not as nowhere near as big as
in that timeline, happy ending they get together. Ashton Kutcher still has all those molestation memories.
Yeah.
That shit happened to him.
Yeah.
Like
and like I mean like there's like Nicolas Cage's like The Family Man, right? Like they meet up and then they just like fucking sit down for coffee at the airport and it ends with them, never living the life you watch. Like these glimpses things never do
real
end
sliding doors type.
Yeah. But they made the right call, although if this was a movie today, it's the same thing. You know why you keep the fucking abortion ending? Not abortion. Yeah.
Miscarriage ending.
Miscarriage.
Self-abortion, I guess, technically.
Yeah, because that shit would go so viral on like Twitter and TikTok
that that'd be a Megan type thing.
People would be going to see that shit, just be like, I heard this has a thing.
Yeah. And this would get the barbarian treatment of don't read anything about this, just go in blind.
But in 2004, I would like to know I think the word, you would know more than me because you were a bit older. I think the word was more of, because it made almost $100 million. I mean,
I was going to say, no, as I remember, this movie did very well.
78 million is a hit.
I was probably like one of the people who thought this was a good movie.
96, 97. Oh, no, they said, we started this episode saying people still to this day, oh, it's a good movie. And I bet you it's because it's like, nah, man, crazy fucking stuff happens. It's the same way how when we used to do Flyover and we watched Running Scared with the same kid, and it was like, that's crazy movie.
Yeah, but it was also just a movie where stuff happened that didn't make any fucking sense.
That also included kiddie porn.
Of course. Yeah, what was the deal? We again, early 2000s was real, like, so obsessed with like the edginess and like sex tapes and snuff films and like, Seven's in this movie, and that's kind of got that same vibe to it too. Of course, David Fincher does it so well, like nobody's gonna take
Seven's a good movie.
Oh, right. That's the thing. You play with it as a stylistic choice as long as the movie holds up.
That's the wild. To throw Seven's only in there because fucking New Line Cinema was like, yeah, no, you guys could use that. We have some posters lying around. You guys could use it. Anyway, we can keep rambling about this fucking wild thing.
Let's wrap it up, baby.
Yeah. So yeah, my final thoughts. It's fucking wild. This is for 100% a beer movie.
Yeah, like I honestly would still be like, yeah, if you've watched this and you're curious, I would say watch it. It's wild. It's a wild ride. I don't know if I would recommend it to everybody because it is kind of triggering. It's just got a lot of fucked up shit in it, and a lot of people just don't like to watch that stuff.
Oh, I recommended it to people I know that ironic. I literally texted people today that like it ironically.
Yeah.
Should I like so bad it's good? I texted them. I said, this movie's fucking just trauma.
Yeah, but just like if a normie on the street was like, "Ooh, butterfly effect," I don't think.
I'd be like, don't revisit it. Keep the memory you have of you thinking. It's
right.
a good
That's
movie.
what I would say. I'd be like, if you remember it as being good, just don't go back. No
That's
reason
where we'll leave it at. This is why compared to the Boondock Saints comparison, it was like some things are just meant to be left in the past when.
And I think I will say, much like because I said earlier, I do feel like I fall kind of in the same place where it's like, it's not good, but it was definitely not as bad as I was expecting it to be. Kind of, I was really like,
oh no,
Well, you know what? You're right. This one's much worse. Boondock Saints wasn't as bad as I was expecting.
No.
When I went back to Boondock Saints, I was expecting to really be embarrassed. It was only like, it was fine.
No, I also think this movie
is much worse.
This is much worse, and it has some really bad acting in it.
Yeah.
That's one thing we didn't talk about.
Uncharacteristically bad acting from Amy Smart, who's usually pretty good.
Oh, her.
She has some pretty rough moments.
Her upsetness that they didn't give her anywhere to walk to go off to when he gives her the information when he brings it up is unintentionally hysterical because she just walks off to nowhere.
It's like to the middle of nowhere.
Like they should have had that conversation like in her kitchen or something
or
like
near
that.
her car.
There's also there's a few scenes that like with Amy Smart in particular that like their Ashton Kutcher's real revelation when he's an amputee is really just he's really bad at so Ashton Kutcher I think good in rom-coms like Guess Who.
Well, I just think he has a wheelhouse. He's a comedy guy.
He's charismatic.
He knows how to deliver comedy
dialogue.
Of shit,
charismatic piece of shit. The man cannot emote any sort of drama or empathy.
Yeah, there's a couple times. I mean, obviously this movie's got a lot of emotional shit in it, and there's definitely some times where he's trying to like, I don't know, emote, and they're doing like a single tear on his cheek, and none of it really lands.
All right, I know we were gonna end real quick, but I'm gonna put an actor in here who I think is like the most charismatic, but has like good range and probably a similar age, honestly, maybe a little older than Ashton Kutcher. So I think you make this movie. I mean, it'd be so out of character for him, but same thing with Ashton Kutcher. You make this movie with like a Paul Rudd.
Oh yeah, and this would only been let's see, this would have been like 6 or 7 years after Clueless, but he's still. I mean,
he'd play the same age.
I was saying this is 2004, so we're like 3 or 4 years away from 40-Year-Old Virgin. So he's definitely playing early 20s here, no problem.
I just like you put him in the role at that. You probably get it probably hits hard, and we're not laughing about this. This is have you ever viewed recently? I know I'm just keep comparing it to movies. The number 23 with Jim Carrey.
Oh man, that's a bad one. Oh boy.
This is number 23.
This is definitely levels. I can see number 23 being like right in the wheelhouse of this one.
These are the same kind of.
No one really the trailer for that one and being excited, and then seeing the movie and be like, oh no.
No one really decided to like figure it out. They just had a cool idea and they rolled with it and they said, you know what's gonna be fucking cool? Edgelord.
Right, and we'll do Jim Carrey. Nobody will ever see that Jim Carrey in this type of role.
We're gonna give a grown adult the emo comb over. But yeah, it's a fucking dumb movie. But yeah, like you said, I recommend it for a so bad it's good watch. But if you had
ironic watching, it's perfect.
If you enjoyed the movie as growing up and you like it, don't watch it. Or you
also, I'm not here to judge. If you like this movie, just don't make it your favorite movie. Like if this is your favorite movie, watch more movies because there's stuff like this that's better than this.
Yes. All right. You know where you guys can find us. All right.
At Hercules, Chindango1, Twitter, Blue Sky.
Yeah. All right. Stay fretful, everyone. Bye.
Welcome to Flyover State of Fear.